better late than never. Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. So last night I finally got around to it and I went out to see Aladdin. Directed by Guy Ritchie and starring Mena Massoud as Aladdin, Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine, and Will Smith as the Genie. It retells the classic story of the Disney animation about a street rat who falls in love with the princess and uses the genie to become a prince in hopes to have her hand in marriage. So going into this movie, I didn't have the most hopes for it. The first trailer that they released, I didn't think was that great. I thought it looked too much like a stage play, and I didn't think that the CGI on the genie looked very good. Just nothing about the movie really caught my attention and made me excited with that first trailer. Then they released the second trailer, which had a little bit more of the Disney magical feel. They added in a whole new world sequence, and I was kind of more on board. It looked like it was a lot more fun. And going into this movie, I had the knowledge of the mixed reviews that critics were getting it, but the high audience score that it had on Rotten Tomatoes. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to feel when I went into this movie and what to expect. And I gotta say that the Aladdin movie is way more represented by the second trailer and the audience score. I had a lot of fun with this Aladdin live action film. I do have some negatives with it, but for the most part, I'm very positive on the film. Mena Massoud as Aladdin, I thought was really good in the lead role. I thought he had a lot of charm and charisma as Aladdin. I thought he was really likable, and I thought he proved himself to be a pretty good lead for this movie. Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine was also really great. She was one of the best characters in the movie. I felt like they wrote the most for her and paid attention to her character the most. And Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine had the best voice, had some of the best acting in the movie. They really kind of give Princess Jasmine an arc in this movie that she didn't get in the original animated cartoon, that I thought worked really well, was really cool, and I thought Naomi Scott killed it in the role. And yeah, she's really pretty. Then we have Will Smith as the Genie. Now, the Genie did not look that great in the first trailer. In the second trailer, he looked a lot better in my opinion. And in the movie, it's kind of a mixture of the both. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes the CGI on the Genie looks really good, and other times it does look like it looks like that from the first trailer. It doesn't look that great. But looking past that and focusing just on Will Smith's performance, I thought he did a great job of having a genie that had the essence of the Robin Williams genie and what that genie was, while also making it his own and having the Will Smith style to it. He's still very zany and wacky and all over the place, and he doesn't really do impressions as much as he does caricatures. But Will Smith is the best part of this movie. The genie was the best part of the movie. He had me laughing. He had the most charisma. This is the most entertaining Will Smith has been in years, in my opinion. Almost every single joke with the genie and with Will Smith hit really hard for me. And the song sequence, You Never Had a Friend Like Me, was my favorite sequence in the movie. It was visually appealing and it was a spectacle. And what they did with the visuals was very creative and was a lot of fun. I was looking all over the place. There was so much to look at, so much color. I loved that song sequence. And going into the songs, I thought all the songs for the most part were very good. I wasn't a big fan of how they transitioned into the song sometimes. Sometimes it was very abrupt, and sometimes it did feel obligatory to have this song in the movie because it's from the animated film. But I wouldn't say any of the song sequences, any of the singing was really bad. Naomi Scott definitely had the strongest voice. There's some auto-tune you can hear in there with Mena Massoud and Will Smith. But those song sequences were choreographed really well. They sounded great. I would say that they're almost on par with the original song in the animated film. The one thing that this movie was able to provide that I felt like Dumbo, which was another Disney live-action remake that came out earlier in the year, failed to provide for me, was that sense of Disney magic. With Dumbo, I didn't really feel like there was any of that classic Disney magic. But with Aladdin, there was a lot of moments that they really captured that Disney magic that you just love about Disney. And I would say the pinnacle of that was definitely a whole new world sequence. The whole new world sequence gave me chills. It was so beautifully sung. It looked great. The visuals were amazing. It felt just like the animated cartoon sequence. Along with You Never Had a Friend Like Me, those are my two favorite song sequences and sequences in the movie in general that just really captured that Disney magic, made me feel like a kid again. I loved those song sequences and they were just so well done. But the movie did fall flat for me in a couple areas. I felt like they took a lot of liberties just assuming that you've seen the classic Aladdin animated film. And so I felt like they rushed and skipped over some important parts of the film that really could have made it flow a little bit better. That's another thing about the pacing of this movie. I didn't feel the pacing of the movie was that great. There were a couple times where it was like really fast and rushing, like the beginning of this film. It's almost like they forgot that they had a 2-hour movie and they remembered how long the original was. So they just go, go, go. They rush past some stuff. They get right into the song sequences. It felt like the movie was just running on speed, and I was like, whoa, movie, slow down. You have like 2 hours. Like, let's ease into this. And eventually the movie does slow down and kind of get into its groove and get into its own thing. But there were a couple times where I was like, okay, this is a little slower. Oh, wow, we're going really fast with this. We skipped over a couple things here and there. Oh, suddenly we're doing this now? Whoa, that came out of nowhere. Like, there were just a couple moments like that. It just felt like the pacing was just a little up and down, a little off. It didn't always flow fluidly for me. And another downside that I would say to this movie is the villain of Jafar. The villain of Jafar was played by Marwan Kenzari, and I just didn't feel like he had a very strong presence as a villain. In the classic animated Aladdin, he's a much older guy, he's creepier, he's got a deeper voice. This version of Jafar was just a little bit, almost had like a whiny, high-pitched voice. He didn't really come on as menacing when he was on screen. He didn't have a strong presence. That was a little disappointing. I don't want to give like the actor a bad credit or anything like that. I thought he did fine. It's just for his Jafar was way weaker and failed in comparison of the animated original's Jafar. So I would say that that was disappointing. And also, like I mentioned before with the first trailer, how it looked like it was going to be a stage play. Admittedly, there are some times in this movie where it doesn't feel very cinematic and it does feel like actors in a play. I felt this the most during the village sequences. Just the wardrobes and the way that it's lit, it does kind of look like they're on a stage performing in front of a live audience. It didn't always feel like it was a real world lived in. It didn't always look like it was a natural environment, which did kind of take me out of the movie at some points. But other times it is this big blockbuster action cinematic film. So that fear of it being like a stage play was met somewhat, but it didn't overtake the movie as much as I thought it was going to. But the moments that it did feel like a stage play, I will admit, were a bit distracting and did pull me out of the movie just a little bit. But in the end, I would say that Aladdin is my favorite Disney live-action remake thus far. Up to this point, I haven't really felt that great about this Disney live-action remakes. There's been a couple I've liked, like Jungle Book and Cinderella. But then there's others that I just don't understand why they're made. Like, they don't do anything better than the original. They don't even compare to the original, in my opinion. Like Beauty and the Beast, which was a copy and paste version of the original classic, but it did nothing better, so I don't really understand why that movie needed to be made and why it existed. Aladdin's a little bit of a different story. There are times where it does kind of copy and paste the classic original, and it doesn't do it much better. There are times when it does do it just a little bit better, and it have a unique spin on it. And then there's other times where they go off on their own and they do something new, and that's the parts of Aladdin that I kind of enjoyed the most, was the new stuff and how Guy Ritchie's vision of Aladdin went. And that's what I enjoyed about this movie. Also add in some really good music, some great visuals, a good cast, and I would say I had a really good time at the movie theater and a really good time watching Aladdin. This one's okay existing in my book. I will happily put this on my Blu-ray shelf. I really enjoyed it. And it's easily my favorite of the Disney live-action remake films thus far. Although let's wait and see how long Aladdin holds that title when Lion King comes out in July. Anyway guys, those are my thoughts and opinions on the new live-action Aladdin directed by Guy Ritchie. But what did you think about Aladdin? Comment down below, let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about this movie. Do you fall on the critics' side, where you're a little mixed on it? Or do you fall with the audience, where you're really high about this movie? I'm more so on the audience. Although I had a few problems with it, I wouldn't say I'm mixed on the movie. I like the movie quite a lot. But jump down in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. Anyway guys, I did it. I finally saw Aladdin and I finally reviewed it. And once again, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Once again guys, my name's Zachary Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and hope you have yourself a great day.